Welcome back to Getting Started in DaVinci Resolve. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at setting up a new project and the project settings. If you missed part 1, you can watch that here. To create a new project, click on the new project icon at the bottom of the project manager. This will give you the option to name it. Your project settings will be whatever the defaults are set to, unless you've changed them already. Once your project is opened, you can access the project settings either from the top file menu and going down to project settings, or by clicking the cog icon in the bottom right of the program. At the top, you have the presets. This is where you can find saved project settings, and I'll explain how you can save your own presets later in the video. The first thing we'll take a look at is the master settings. This is where you'll find your timeline resolution. This is the size you'll want the final video to be exported. For example, if you're filming in 4K but want to export in 1080p, set up your timeline resolution to 1080p, but if you want to export in 4K, use a 4K timeline. Your timeline frame rate can also be set here. You can also make sure your playback and timeline frame rate match. Next up is the video monitoring settings. This refers to the monitor you'll be playing back your footage on. You can adjust the settings here for smoother playback if needed. There are several options for how your monitor is connected. Mine is just via a mini DisplayPort and a HDMI, so I don't need to worry about these. You can choose if you want full data levels or not. This can help if you have a slower PC. Your bit depth will depend on what footage you are editing. If you're working with really big files and your computer can't handle them, you may want to consider using optimized media. Both optimized media and proxies are essentially files that are smaller, lower res versions of your original source material, although you can adjust your settings to have them be whatever you want. Depending on what computer you're working on, you may prefer to use lower resolution optimized media or stick to the original resolution. Choosing where your proxy files are kept is important, as having them on a slow drive won't help at all. It's always a good idea to keep them on a good fast drive like an M.2 or an SSD. Frame interpolation relates to how Resolve determines the default state for all the retiming and speed change effects. This includes when clips are in mixed frame rate timelines. The real-time process is the default way Resolve interprets clips that don't match the timeline frame rate. Nearest is the least processor intensive, and optical flow is the most processor intensive. So use your own discretion here. Motion estimation mode and motion range are options that lets you choose the trade-offs between speed and quality with regards to frame interpolation. The larger will obviously be more processor intensive. Under image scaling, we have the resize filter. These settings affect the method used to resize clips in various situations. I tend to just leave this on sharper, as I often upscale 1080p footage to 4K. Moving on to color management. Because color management is such a big topic, I'll go over it briefly here, but we will cover it in more depth in another video. This is where you choose your working color space. You have a choice between DaVinci Resolve YRGB, DaVinci Resolve YRGB Color Managed, or ACES. Resolve YRGB lets you manually adjust and transform color spaces as you see fit. Color Manage will do this for you, but you can set how it does this in the settings to best suit your need. If you're just getting started in Resolve, you don't really need to worry about ACES at this point in time, but as I mentioned, we will cover more about color spaces in another video. It's always recommended to use the widest gamut for your main delivery, and then you can shrink it down as needed for the web or TV, for example. DaVinci Wide Gamut is the widest as far as I'm aware so far, even more so than ACES, which you can see from this chart. If you're more familiar with working with standard Rec 709, you may want to choose something smaller. In the general settings section, there may not be a lot you need to change here. It all depends on how you like to work. There are a couple of things I like to uncheck here. Luminance mixer defaults to 0 and use S-curve for contrast. This is something I picked up from the Learning Color Grading channel. Having these two options checked is asking Resolve to help you stop from clipping by making automatic adjustments for you when you either use the contrast control or adjust individual color channels. I like to have as much manual control as possible, and so I turn these off. Once you are happy with all your settings for your project, you can go back to the presets tab and save them. You can also save them as your project defaults if you would like as well, by right-clicking. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to see more videos from this series and on filmmaking in general, you can subscribe here and check the bell icon if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.